Jesus invites us. Not only on this particular Sunday, a nice Sunday to think about rest. It's, after all, summertime. And we're in the middle of a long holiday weekend, and so it's a good thing to think about taking it a little easy, remembering the things we cherish and that are important to us, spending time with family and friends. Many of you will be at picnics or parties. That's a good thing, to know that kind of sense of ease and rest and relaxation that Jesus would have us experience. But I think it's even more than just a day thing. It's more than just what we might do on a long weekend, or when we take time off from work, or when we go to a favorite restful vacation spot. I think what Jesus is saying is it's a way of living. Live your life in such a way that you are yoked to me. Partner with me and I will help carry the load. You're not going to be in this life alone. You're not going to have to do it all by yourself. You can lift up your concerns, those burdens you carry, in prayer, and know that those burdens are shared, those cares are heard, those prayers come to my ears. And that as a community of faith, you are invited to be that kind of place for one another, to be a place of strength, to be a place of rest, to be a place that doesn't put burdens on people, obligations that are so difficult to live up to, but which make it easy and light and lift our hearts and hopes and imaginations. In Jesus' time, it was easy to get closed in and closed down, to think that you had to do it just one way, and that when you failed to do it, you had failed. I think what Jesus is saying is there is a new beginning. There always is a new day. Imagine what's possible, using the language and metaphors of the United Church of Christ's most recent campaign. Imagine that the future that God has for you is full of hopes and expectations. In many ways, it is that same anticipation and expectation that those early patriots felt in Philadelphia. They could imagine that a new future was possible for them as a people, for their children and their grandchildren and great-grandchildren still to come. And they set in place not only a personal journey that involved them in risk, but possibilities that involved them in the future that God was opening to God's people. Many years later, the French writer Alexis de Tocqueville visited the United States of America. And he wrote in his journal about his experience of this new nation, now in its early childhood. And he said, "I sought for the greatness of the United States in her commodious harbors, her ample rivers, her fertile fields and boundless forests, and it was not there. I sought for it in her rich mines, her vast world commerce, her public school system, and in her institutions of higher learning, and it was not there. I looked for it in her democratic Congress and her matchless Constitution, and it was not there. Not until I went into the churches of America and heard her pulpits flame with righteousness did I understand the secret of her genius and power. America is great because America is good. And if America ever ceases to be good, America will cease to be great." It is an awesome responsibility that was set before us to be the kind of place that might live into the best calling. The best calling as a nation to be a place of goodness and justice, freedom and love, compassion that reaches out around the globe and holds others to standards that are high and which we seek for ourselves. But also to know that we are a people who also respond to a call and invitation to be God's people, to be good people, to be caring, loving, generous people, and to know that we can't do it by ourselves. And so when we come to the communion table, when we receive the elements, the gifts of Christ for the people of God, we know that in sharing those together, in receiving what Christ has to offer for us, we set ourselves once again on the journey that God calls us to be God's people in this place and time, to share a word of hope, a word of imagination, to call ourselves and one another into the future God sets before us. Thanks be to God.